All right. So my name's Alicia Moreno, and I attended WAM last year for the cryptography event, and I'm a faculty member at the University of Hartford. So I applied for the WAM Ambassador Grant for the postdoc one last year, and found out in August that I received it, just the way we heard about before. And my idea was to use the money to hold a conference at the University of Hartford. So we haven't had a math conference there before, and it could be a regional conference reaching out to other undergraduates throughout Connecticut and kind of the New England area. So our concept was to have an event called Beyond the Binary. So it was a one-day undergrad math conference, and we wanted to promote gender diversity in mathematics, and we wanted to specifically be inclusive to the trans and non-binary communities as well. And another big component of the conference was to explore career opportunities in math and provide networking opportunities for the students. So bring in some industry and academic representatives and have the undergrads be able to chat with them and find out some information. So I'll give you like a rundown of our timeline quickly, and then a rundown of kind of like what the event was like, and then see if you guys have any questions about it. So in August, we had to secure funding, so we sent the application to WAM, and we talked to our university about matching funds. So we got the matching funds, and then we actually reached out to a different pocket of funds at their university, because as we mentioned before, ask for more and more money if you can, right? So we got like double matching funds, which was fantastic. And then we wanted to, so again, I'm a faculty member at the university, and my co-organizer was also a faculty member, and we wanted to have more undergraduate influence. So we reached out to some undergrads to get them to be kind of co-organizers with us to hear more from their perspective. Around November, we had most of our panelists figured out and our speakers, so we could start advertising that on our website. And then we got to figure out smaller details, like what we wanted to serve for lunch and dinner and stuff, if we wanted to hand out swag, what we wanted that to be, things like that, and start advertising. So around like really November, December, we were talking to the university marketing to get like a poster for the conference and things like that done as well, and figuring out like a logo and things. And then we just advertise like all of the spring semester, and that was the biggest pain, was getting the word out there and getting people to like actually register and commit was like such a headache, but but it worked out. So we ended up, this is a rundown of the schedule, we ended up getting 85 people registered for the conference ahead of time, and about 65 showed up for the conference the day of. And this is, I kind of mentioned briefly what we were going to have, but we had two plenary talks. One in the morning was actually a WAM alumni, sort of. She was a TA for last year, so like she's in the WAM family. So she gave a plenary talk that was kind of more, it was about breaking Enigma, and so it was a little bit more historical and really relatable for a lot of people. So a lot of people felt like they, no matter what their math background was, they got a piece out of that. And then Kara's talk, the afternoon plenary talk, was a little bit more technical and a little bit more mathematically advanced. So I kind of liked that we had a little bit for everyone, I felt like. Then we had an industry career panel. We had the academic representatives and industry representatives all on one. A gender diversity and math panel during lunch to try to get it to be a bit more friendly. A poster session so undergraduates could present their work, and then a networking breakout session. And we had a group photo. So here Emily is presenting about breaking Enigma. That was like pretty accessible for everyone. So start the morning off a little bit light. Career panel, we had people come from Travelers, the Hartford, Mass Mutual, the Siegel Group. Academia, we had graduate student and an assistant professor. Gender diversity panel, we had Ada from Akamai Technologies, Ann Newberg, who's a retired faculty member from the University of Hartford, Megan Sawyer from Southern New Hampshire University, they're a faculty member there, and Emily Wilson, who I mentioned before. So that was during lunch, which made it like a little bit more inviting, I thought. We had our poster session. We ended up getting about like 8 posters presented. We also offered to print the posters for the students, which I think was a really nice thing to offer for them in case students, couldn't secure money to actually print it. We just printed it for them. And the networking session worked out really well. I was really nervous about this ahead of time. Like, how are people, we're all math people and sometimes we might not want to talk to each other. But we had these like nice high top tables that kind of invite more conversation. We had coffee and snacks during that time. And in the morning folders, I put in some like networking tips and things like that. And we also had stickers that we put on the ID badges for people that identified like if they're industry, if they're a student, if they're academic, or we had math enthusiasts because some people brought a significant other or something like that and they didn't really fall into any of those categories. So we had math enthusiasts as well. So then it was kind of easy to identify who's who. And then we had our last talk at the end of the day. And then just some friendly photos. So these are my undergrad ambassadors and they were amazing and helped out so much. So I don't know if that was 10 minutes or not, but what kind of questions do people have also? It was a great event to organize, and I really, really appreciate having the WAM Ambassador money to be able to do that. But questions? Yeah.
What would you do differently next time?
I think I would have, and I can also bring up the website I had too, just to give you a taste of it. I would advertise earlier even. Like we had got the website up, I think beginning of January, and I don't know how to get people to like register ahead of time. But that was definitely a difficult thing. So that also, having a map of where restrooms are seems like something, that you just don't even think about, but I would definitely do that or put up more signage for like where to get places. But something with the, contacting people earlier would be definitely helpful. Yeah, so this is our website. So we made a Wix website. And I think it came out really nice. I'm like really proud of it. We had the schedule up there. Also, a lot of people, we asked for feedback, and their feedback was like, send us the schedule ahead of time. Like, it's been on the website since January, but maybe, I don't know, being like more clear about that might be good. But yeah, so we had all this information on the website, and I think that was good somehow. And these are our panelists. We also had an inclusion ethical conduct agreement just to remind people of our goals, and we included that in the folder that was handed out, but that was on our website.
Where did you get the language for the agreement?
Yeah, that's a good question. My undergrad ambassadors, I asked them for like what they would want to include, and it was a group discussion between the 3 of us, yeah. And I looked at some examples, and we kind of like pick and chose what we thought was important and tried to make it as concise as we could. Yeah, and then we had our organizing committee. I had a lot of people asking for our conference poster, so I ended up putting it on the website like late in beginning of April or so, but having that on there was a good thing. So I would put that in earlier. And then having a mailing list, I put this in late too, but I think that would be helpful because some people might not want to register at the time, but want to like keep up with it. So next time I'd have these 2 things on there earlier. But yeah, so other questions? Yeah.
Do you have suggestions for people who may have like an AWM chapter or something like that on how to be more inclusive and like promote a more encompassing understanding of gender diversity, as you're saying, like beyond
Yeah,
binary?
right. I would definitely reach out to those people and have like people from those communities that you want to include and have them at the forefront of your conference. So we had people from the trans community and the non-binary community on our panels and such. And if we were to do it again, having someone from that community as like a plenary speaker, for example. But yeah, just like reach out, because representation is like the most important thing. Yeah. And the undergrads that were from those communities were really excited for that, because they felt like there wasn't many conferences that promoted like their community. So yeah. Other questions? Yeah.
We're in a poster session. Were most of these undergrads like people who had done REUs beforehand and like had posters from that, or like how did that work?
I'm not sure if they had. I was clear in my emails and on the website to say that it could be expository work as well, because I wanted it to be like practice. So I had here, expository or novel research is welcome. So I just wanted, since it was going to be a more comfortable atmosphere, I wanted undergrads to like just get that practice.
Sure.
So I really reached out to faculty members that I knew and were like, this is a good opportunity for your students, and I went that route. So I think it was more like faculty members pressuring their undergrads to do it. But afterwards, the feedback I got from the undergraduates was, you should be more clear that this is like a low stakes thing, that people can get practice with it. And I don't know really how to fix that verbiage to really express that without being like, anyone come up here and like slap some things on the board. Yeah.
Well, then did you give them any sort of like guidelines or guidance for how to do posters and like what that looks like to make a professional poster?
No, but that's a really good thing to include.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. Yeah.
Did you have a committee that reviewed the posters?
Ahead of time? No, we didn't.
Because we have that at conferences.
Okay.
We actually have a review.
Yeah, we just had,
Like title, abstract.
yeah, send title and abstract.
Very easy.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose if you're printing the posters, you could review them, like you would have them.
Right, but then we get them like the
The day before.
3 days before, yeah. With just the minimal amount of time to print. Yeah. Yeah. Anything else? Okay. All right, thank you guys.
Okay. Hi everyone. I'll be co-presenting Florida Women in Mathematics Day and follow-up events. My name is Angela Robinson. I'm currently a postdoc at the National Institute of Standards and Technology, and I participated in WAM last year. And I'm co-presenting with Anne Myers, who is currently in a mathematics doctoral program at Florida Atlantic University. So our initial event had a very strong geometric flavor, and that is how this sort of design came about, trying to capture this Florida Women in Mathematics Day idea so that we could have some sort of logo for our program and bags. Yeah, so it's kind of cute. And this is where Boca is located on the map. So the goal of Florida Women in Mathematics Day was to establish a network of mathematicians across all stages. So we started with the high school level. We wanted to incorporate high school students, high school faculty, undergraduate students, graduate students, postdocs, and faculty members at universities, which was extremely ambitious, but we made it work. So with the funding, we decided to put the full postdoc ambassador dollar amount, the full $3,000, towards the conference, and our local math department pledged $1,500. So we had about $4,500 to work with. The idea was to just have a half-day immersion experience for the high school students and a full day of networking with all the other levels. And to establish this goal, we collaborated with the local AWM chapter at FAU. So at the time that I applied for the ambassadorship, I was exiting as an AWM officer, and Anne was stepping up as president of the chapter. So we had already an existing working relationship. It was very easy for us to collaborate together. So to achieve this goal, we sort of had a parallel schedule. We began with the research presentations for the university level participants, and the high schoolers weren't in attendance for that. Then we invited a keynote speaker who was also a WAM alumni, Rosemary Guzman. We thought she already is a great mathematician, but she also has a presence that's intoxicating. So we thought she would be great to help with the interest level of the high school students. During lunch, there was supposed to be mentoring happening with the high school students. And then after lunch, we had also a split session. The high school students did a GeoGebra activity, which you can see in this photo. And the university level participants had a small group activity. After that, we had a career panel with everyone together, and then afternoon celebration. So some of the challenges with this being a new concept, a new idea, was forecasting the budget. We wanted to support travel requests from postdocs, also undergraduates, but we also wanted to offer childcare if needed because WAM already has that. So we thought it would be good to support these type of requests. And we also had difficulty forecasting the number of registrants because our initial registration date was December 15th, and only 57% of our registrants had registered by that date. We were given the advice that usually getting people to register on time is a struggle, so that was our fake date. Our real date was January 15th, and still, no, a lot of people just kept registering after the date, and it just, it was okay. Also, we found difficulty actually reaching the high school faculty so that they could pass the message along to their students, and difficulty getting postdocs to register. So we resorted to sending personalized emails, and the postdocs that came received personalized emails from us, and so we were happy that they came. Another big challenge was to ensure that the experience would be meaningful for the high school students, that they wouldn't walk away and say, oh, math is not for me, or walk away and say, oh, math is too boring. We really wanted to engage them and give them a meaningful day. The lunchtime speed mentoring turned out to be a little bit of a challenge. The high schoolers didn't necessarily want to separate from their friends, or they were really closed off, but eventually the idea was that we would have them sit in small groups and then have postdocs or university students rotate through and chat with them. Eventually, the rotation didn't occur. We just, sat them in groups, and somebody from the university sat with them, and they just had a nice discussion. So overall, the impact was so large that Anne is going to have to tell you about it. But this is Rosemary, if you haven't met her, and this is our career panel. We had an actuary, government agency represented NIST. We had a postdoc represented, and a faculty member.
So just to talk about the follow-up impact, because Angela mentioned that one of the goals of our of FWIMD was to establish a network, and that's not something that happens at a just one-day conference. And so we wanted to leverage the connections that we made and the relationships we started building at FWIMD to really build a community of mathematicians locally, and so especially among females. So our long-term vision underlying the FWIMD conference was actually when Angela talked about the budgeting forecast issues that we had, it turned out to be a blessing because we ended up with a little bit of a surplus. And so we put our minds to work to see, well, how can we productively use this surplus to promote the vision of FWIMD. So we leveraged existing platforms that we have through AWM. One of them is a mentoring program initiative that we have called Dare to Be. So if you'll see up there in the corner, there's the logo. So do you guys want to look at the logo and tell me, what do you see there? Okay, there's the 1, 2, 3. It's called Dare to Be, so some of you might see a D, then the number 2 and letter B. Okay, and then if you use your imagination and turn your head,
Party word was the first thing I saw.
well, you're close. So there's a big B, there's a really massive V, and then there's a little b that's self-similar. So the idea is our mentoring program is called Dare to Be because our mentors are big B's and our mentees are little b's. So this logo captures a lot. It tries to convey the idea that we're mathematicians and that we're trying to build a community. You know, bees are all about what? Community hives. So to kind of promote that vision, we hosted a mentor matching lunch. So we have a tiered mentoring program between faculty, graduate students, undergraduate students, and it was actually good success. We had, which is redundant, good success, but we had 20 faculty students show up, and we're able to just start building relationships, which we continue to foster through monthly tea socials. So we also use some of our budget to promote our tea times with custom teacups, as well as honey jars, which are perfect for our bee theme. So with that, we found tea socials to be a great success. They're open to the department, not just to female or women mathematicians. And so what we've done is discovered a lot of interesting talents and things beyond mathematics through these social events. And one of the things we were surprised to discover is there are a great number of people who are dancers amongst our ranks. And so we ended up having the opportunity to meet with the author of a book called The Art of Mathematics, Dance. And so they take dance seriously as a mathematical kind of endeavor. They research mathematics, they talk about symmetries, and you can start imagining the mathematical aspects of dance. So we met with them and discussed ways that we can maybe leverage the local talent that we have into an outreach potentially to the high school students, but and also in-house. But going back to this idea of tea socials, where we're discovering these sorts of things about each other, we also used the idea of tea as a platform to invite the high school students back to our school for an after-school tea social, where we had a special guest, Dr. Kristen Lauder of Microsoft Research, who was able to talk to the high school students and describe to them some of the exciting opportunities and challenges facing women in mathematics and inspire them as the next generation. So going forward, over this summer, we're also collaborating with another summer camp that's being offered by our institution at FAU, Cryptographers, which is going to be a 1-week summer camp offered towards high school students interested in cryptography. And so one of the really cool things that's come out of all of this is one of the high schools that we worked with and that came to FWIMD was so inspired by the things that they had seen that they asked how they could start their own AWM or GEM chapter. And so they've taken the steps to start their own organization. So it's really exciting to see the next generation of students take steps and initiative to take what they've learned and to share it and to move forward. So with that, I want to say thank you to WHAM and to our institution, and especially to Angela, who's been the pioneer for us and allowing us to do these things. And we're looking forward to doing more things in the future.
Hi guys, my name's Kristen. I go to Clemson University. I just finished my master's and continuing on with my PhD. I participated in WHAM last year for the crypto one, and I was really excited, and I went back and immediately emailed a professor who I knew was really interested in gender issues, diversity issues, inclusive issues in our department, and I wanted to meet with him. I was like, can we do something? Like, we can apply and try to get some funding. And he suggested maybe doing a Wikipedia edit-a-thon. I was like, okay, let's do it, why not? So we kind of went all in on it. Just as some motivation for why we did this, most people don't realize this, but only 17.75% of the biographies that are on Wikipedia are actually about women, which is ridiculous. In addition, the biographies of women tend to be like family oriented or less extensive, so they'll be like mention spouses or kids or not really relevant details to like their career or their awards or achievements or things like that. Another problem is that less than 16% of Wikipedia editors are women. Most people will not even like identify as a female just because of harassment that could come up or things like that. So it's a really big problem, especially when the internet is everywhere now and people go to it to look for mentors or research people, and they're not going to see people who look like them if it's all males basically doing it. So that's why we wanted to do this event. So we brought in this speaker. Her name's Dr. Marie Vitulli. She's very actively involved in AWM things. She runs her Facebook page. She's gotten countless awards. She wrote an article that's on Archive, I think it was in 2017, called Writing Women in Mathematics into Wikipedia. And she addressed like how we need to improve female representation on Wikipedia, like how to actually do that, problems that come up, all sorts of things. My advisor knew her through research. They do similar research, and he reached out to her. She's a retired professor at University of Oregon, and Clemson's in South Carolina, so it was a little hard to get her all the way over here, but she went to JMM, and she traveled down after that. So we actually received funding from WHAM, obviously. We applied for Clemson's Diversity and Inclusive Excellent grant thing. We didn't actually know that was even there until after we did some research. We got funding from, we have an NSF advanced grant at Clemson that we got funding for. And we also partner with Clemson Libraries. They gave us a giant room to use, which I'll show you in a little bit. They sponsored security for the event because the library wasn't open then, so we just kept reaching out to different areas. The librarians came and volunteered their time to help look up resources and like primary resources, things like that. There was actually one person who was a Wikipedia fellow at their old institution, so all these different pieces came together all at once, and it turned out to be really great. So we had a one-day event. It was from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., which we realized was a little long at the during the day, but we started with coffee and fruit and pastries when they arrived, so they had breakfast. Dr. Vitulli kind of gave an overview of how to use the editor in Wikipedia, like create an account, how to become an editor. She started with some simple projects of updating links, so the AWM got a new website and all the links from the old things that were references on Wikipedia needed to be updated, so we started really simple and just did things like that. As the day went on, we also fed them lunch, so we provided breakfast and lunch while they were there, which was really great. And as the day went on, people seemed to like trickle out, but for those who stayed, we took on bigger projects. So I know I created 2 pages, and there was 4 other pages that were created. I'll show you the meetup page in a second. And we did have some remaining funds because we got way more funding than we were expecting, which is super awesome. So we had a follow-up event, and this one, instead of like training people, was more focused on just like sitting down and working together. So there was 5 of us, 3 grad students and 2 faculty members. This one we created 5 pages in 4 hours, and we were able to provide lunch as well because of leftover funding. And I'm just going to go to one of our meetup pages. So when you host a Wikipedia edit-a-thon, you can create this page to promote it. So this tells us like all the information on it. So we had all the resources. So this Women in Red list of mathematicians, we'll just go to it really quick. It literally has hundreds of female mathematicians who probably deserve a Wikipedia page, so that's why they're all in red.
By the way. I'm a professor, that's good.
Yeah, so Women in Red links mean they don't actually have a Wikipedia page, so the like saying is turn red to blue. Once you create their page, then they become blue links, and that's the goal. So we use this as like a starting point of women to start writing biographies on. Marie provided some like example articles that were really good and had good ratings and things like that. All kinds of sources, and then all the attendees could go and they can link. So this is like my editor page that people can go to if they're interested. And then down here we listed all the outcomes. So these are all the pages that we edited or created or updated in just that one day, which is really, really great. I was very excited about it. Yeah, and since Dr. Vitulli was so involved in AWM, it was on their Facebook page, and somebody saw it and saw my name on it, reached out to me on Facebook. She used to go to Clemson. She's like, this is awesome, we want to do an event. So now I think we're going to try to do a virtual event because she's in New York and we're still in Clemson. So we're going to try to do that in the fall as well. But any questions on this?
Very cool idea.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I'm not much of a writer, but it helps to do it in groups, so it's definitely something you can do alone. And if you're interested, I have tons of links to like help train you on how to write it, but you have to be very careful like what words you use and sources and a lot of there are like hawks. Every time you make an edit or create a page on Wikipedia, they will look at it within like 30 seconds, and if they don't think it's good enough, they will delete it. So you have to be very careful what you write. It helps if you do it in groups and tell somebody like, oh, we just created a page, and then somebody else will go and like edit it and like act like people are really interested in it. That's kind of a trick, but it's what you gotta do sometimes.
But when you do the translations, do you have, I mean, is there a button that you have to click and say, I'm doing a translation?
No, you go to their website. So this one was Todd on the end. He translated a page from French into English, I think. And we also had somebody, I didn't write it down. Let me see if I can find it really quick. He's Burmese, I believe. Yeah, he's from Myanmar. He translated a page about Emmy to Burmese, which was really, really cool. And you can go, if you know Burmese, you can read this. But he did this as well, and that was really awesome. Yeah. Any other questions? Cool.
Hello everyone, I'm Rituja. I was studying at Clemson University last year when I came for the WAM program, but my advisor, Dr. Gretchen Matthews, moved to Virginia Tech, and so we did this initiative of supporting women in mathematics through mentoring program in Virginia Tech. It was a year-round program where So just to tell you a little bit about SWIM, so we selected a few graduate and undergraduate students and paired them up together. And the motivation behind that was each benefits from this a little, in the sense that the graduate students can share their research or whatever problems they faced during their undergrad, get a platform to talk about what they are doing before actually presenting on a larger scale. Whereas undergrads got a motivation how to like why to pursue mathematics, or if someone has faced some challenges and they're facing similar challenges, how to overcome those challenges. So that was the aim, and we had a lot of activities. So once we selected 10 pairs of graduate females and undergraduate females, and to partner them with each other, we had a speech sharing introductory event where we rotated the undergrad students, and each of them got an opportunity to interact with a graduate student, discuss their interests, and get to know each other. And based on these, we formed the partners. So the very first activity that the pairs did together was this class shadowing activity, where the graduate student accompanied the undergraduate to one of their classes wherever they were facing a difficulty. And in that situation, then the graduates guided them as to how could they possibly overcome their challenges, or what were the similar challenges that they faced. So that really had a good response. And then we had a career panel. So we have an AWM chapter at Virginia Tech, and in association with them, we had a career panel where we had some faculty members and graduate students on the panel who had done both research internships or industry internships, and the discussion was about when to apply for internships, how to apply, what is a good what is a good topic to choose, what is which areas to venture in, how to change areas if anything. And the event was a great success. Actually, a couple of students got summer internships or even winter research opportunities right on the day of the panel discussion. So apart from that, we organized some fun activities to motivate teamwork and group thinking. So we had an escape room activity where all our participants went and solved to get out of the escape rooms. We also celebrated the Women's Month by having a lunch event where we invited all the female faculty members to have lunch with us, with all the swim participants, and all the swim participants got a chance to interact with faculty members one-on-one. Apart from that, the math department and the Virginia Tech Women and Minority Artists and Scholars lecture series helped us host Dr. Nicole Joseph, who studies about empowering Black women in mathematics and science in general. So she gave a talk about it, and it was also a very successful event. Also, just like a token of appreciation for putting in a lot of time and effort, because this was a year-round activity, everyone put in a lot of effort. So we designed t-shirts from our funds and gave it to each of the swim members and other people who helped us promote the event. And some future opportunities as we have that it was such a success that the math department has decided to run it forward in the next year also. So we'll be having swim next year too. And we talked about this with the potential graduate students, and they were very keen on joining. So we are hoping to have a bigger team, more events next year. We also had undergraduates who learned about this much later after the actual joining date. So we hope to recruit more undergraduates next year and team up maybe one graduate student with 2 different undergrads and so on. Also, we realized that since this was our first time doing the event, we did it on the go, sort of. We had some events planned, but it was not like a monthly meeting or a weekly meeting or anything. So next year we hope to be a little more organized about it and do it maybe once a month or twice a month, depending on what events we have and how much funding we get. So yes, that was it. Thank you. Any questions? Yes.
So how do you distribute the fund which you receive? How do you distribute the fund? How do you use the fund?
Okay.
Like,
So,
for example, if one graduate student mentor one undergrad student,
mhm.
are they getting any money out of it?
No. So the funds were used to organize things like maybe T-shirts or the escape room fees or lunch events. So we got lunch or coffee whenever there was a discussion session or whatever. No one actually received money for grad. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
My name is Atife Mohajiri. I'm a research scientist at Bell Labs and also like a visiting researcher at Cornell. I'm gonna tell the story about Cornell, but yeah. So I actually, so by this time you all know what is this ambassador program. But I heard about it because I participated in the program twice actually. Once in 2017, my supervisor at that point I was a PhD student, and my supervisor was actually teaching one of the courses, so I was her TA. And then last year, I was also participating. So this last year I heard about the program, the ambassador program, and then I just had such a good time here. So I thought yeah, that's a good opportunity to just reproduce it on a smaller scale somewhere else. So other people, as was mentioned by Margaret, each year only 60 people can come here, but if you can just give this opportunity to other people, so it's a really good thing. Yeah. So actually I also thought when you get the funding you have to organize something that is only includes girls and women. I was wrong, but I think that was also kind of I wanted to reproduce something like here, that we are all girls and women, and yeah, I think it's really important, from my own experience. So at that point, I was not actually affiliated with Cornell. I was like a postdoc at McGill in Canada. So I needed some, and I was kind of in upstate near Cornell because my husband had moved there, and I was just I had my postdoc a long distance, and I thought okay, I should go to Cornell people and see if they want to help me with that, because you need an institution in the States to, if I'm not wrong, yeah, you need an institution in the States to have the funding. So I went there, and Tara is just wonderful. Tara is a prof at Cornell in the math department. She was yes, why not? I mean, she was really supportive. And then Leela and Smaranda, they are two people in the AWM chapter of Cornell. So they were all yeah, let's do it. And so we said so this is where the matching fund comes into play. So Tara was yeah, I can match the thing, and so don't worry about that. So this is how we got it going. And so we decided to have a one-day workshop. I don't have any pictures. If you ask me what regrets I have, we didn't take any pictures. I don't like taking pictures, and no one else actually suggested this, so we ended up not having any pictures. But so yeah, so we held this workshop, a one-day event. So the goal was actually, which was sponsored by Cornell, AWM, and the ambassador program. And the goal was just to kind of invite undergrad, graduate faculties from Cornell and other universities around it, and then also industry, because I wanted people to see if you do math, for example, if you're an undergrad and you're deciding on going to grad school for doing math, what are the opportunities afterwards? Yeah, so we all know, yeah, one is just getting a tenure track in a in a research institution, in a university, but there are tons of other things that you can do, and I wanted people to know it, because I know that some point in your last years of your PhD, you're why am I doing that? If I can't get a job in academia, then I'm worthless. No, that's not true. You're not worthless. You're just or at least maybe I thought this way. Maybe you guys don't, but I thought like, oh, if I can't get a job in academia, what am I gonna do with my life? And then there are like tons of opportunities. So that was my goal. So yeah, so we were focusing on like having like people from different area of math, and then like talking about research or teaching oriented like jobs and industry jobs. And then like I also wanted people to just like get to know each other and like, you know, make a, you know, do networking and like find mentors. So that was part of the goal. And then a little bit also discussing like what are the difficulties that you would just encounter as a woman, like I think you would encounter it as a woman in general if you want to do something in the society. But like, let's talk about just like in math, that we all know about it. So the thing was the whole day event, like from 9 to 5. It was kind of long, but we had like breakfast, and like we had when people came in, we had breakfast, and then like we had a couple of talks before lunch. So we had so Tara gave a talk Tara is from Cornell. Marisa was a graduate, so she had graduated from Cornell, but she was working at the time. She's working actually at Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory. So, and then I also gave a talk, and Madeline is a prof at the Operation Research Department at Cornell. So, and then we had 3 graduate students actually giving talks, and then we had a panel at the end of the day. And I think it was a good thing because Tara, her field is like symplectic geometry and algebraic geometry. So she gave her talk, and it was like not very technical. People actually enjoyed. She had like lots of pictures and like, you know, and then Marisa talked about like different problems that there are like in her lab. It's not like one specific problem that she's working on. It's like they're looking for like these big problems, you know. So like she said, like now she's a research director, and like her job is like finding the next important questions. And I think that was like really interesting for people to just see how a math person can be involved in like thinking, you know, just bigger than, you know. It was really interesting. Her talk was really interesting. And then I gave a talk a little bit about like my PhD work, which was like in algorithmic geometric group theory. And then I also had done like some more data science work like with computational biology. So I combined these 2 things, which were like irrelevant, but like I just wanted to have a picture of like different stuff that you can do. Yeah, you don't need to be like, you know, restricted to like one thing. You can just like do different stuff. And then Madeline actually gave a really interesting talk. She gave a talk about the work she had done when she was a student at Berkeley, PhD student. She took 6 months off to this research project, which was like applying machine learning and data science to analyzing election data. And it was really interesting. So she gave a talk about that. And then the graduate students, they gave like, one gave a talk about random walks on groups, the other one just like about coloring graphs, and then I think one about like theoretical kind of theoretical machine learning. So it was really broader, you know, like different subjects. And actually people in the like when we got the feedbacks, the students were really happy about it. They really enjoyed that there were like, you know, talks about different areas of math. And then in the discussion panel, we discussed different stuff we discussed like internship opportunity. That was actually something that they had suggested, like students had suggested that they want to hear about it when they registered. So we had asked them what do they want to like hear in the panel, and they had said like internships and job opportunities. But something that came up during the discussion was like some asking like especially undergrad people or like, you know, younger grad students, like how do you choose your research area? I think that was one of the biggest questions. And then of course a stressful time in academia, and then something that like they actually started asking was like about programming, you know, because like some people just come from like really pure math background, and they kept asking like, if you don't know programming, how you just how important it is and like how you get into it. And I think that was really also interesting because like people with different experience could just talk about it. And then I put the web page of the program here, so I don't have time to just show it, but yeah, we had our web page, and I think it turned out I'm worried for you. Yeah, it turned out good. I think one of the things that they actually their feedback was overall positive. They really enjoyed the fact that the talks were they cover a broad area of math, and then so they also enjoyed that we had people from industry, and one thing I think they had mentioned which that we should have done is putting the slides ahead of time on the website so they could just go through them, or at least while they were, I don't know, people especially younger generation, they like to have their laptops open and go back and forth between the slides. So they said you should have put the slides in on the and we should have advertised more. But in general, I think it was really positive. And also during the lunch break, we just ended up playing some game boards. We hadn't planned for it, just we were in the lounge and the board games were there. So I think that it helped people communicating and talking. It was a really good experience. So I want to tell you, and also Tara, actually one thing that happened, after the thing, someone suggested that we should set up a blog to continue our discussions that we had over the panel, because they really found it interesting. And also we had people from the physics department, so that was another thing. So not only math, operation research, applied math, but also people from the physics department, and they all said oh, this discussion that we had between us, we had never experienced that, so let's put up a blog and then talk about it. We haven't done it yet, but Marisa and I said let's do it at some point. I'm just gonna do it. And then Tara actually told me she's on a sabbatical leave this year in UK, and she told me, oh, this experience was so good that I want to reproduce it, where I am. So she was already thinking how she can do it there, which is not gonna be part of the WAM program or ambassador program because it's in UK. But I think it just shows how important these things are. So my last thing is if you have time and I think it's a good idea to apply for the funding and try to organize something, even if it's a small thing. I think it's gonna be fun. Any questions? Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder, so you said that you reached to universities close to Cornell. How many people from other universities?
We reached out to them, a couple. So in general, we should have advertised it more and earlier. But I was a kind of a long distance from Cornell. So I had this I had my other job. I was actually at that point I was working as a data scientist in another company, and I had this visiting position at Cornell. But I was kind of busy with my other. So we ended up really advertising late. So I think over 30 people that we had as participants, maybe 5 or 6 from other universities. That shows that we didn't do a good job at advertising it. Yeah, but yeah, we tried. Any other question? Yeah.
Do you have any idea for the blog how you're going to go about keeping those conversations up?
No, this is why we haven't I was moving from so I didn't think about it, but I think Marisa was also really enthusiastic about it. So we said let's set up a time with me and her and also the other people from the AWM chapter at Cornell. So we haven't brainstormed about it, but I think it's a really good idea to do it because people were super excited about it. Yeah. Any other question? Okay.
Okay, hi. I'm Susan Rogowski. A lot of you guys have already met me this week. I just finished my master's at Wake Forest University, and while I was there, I was the chapter president for our AWM chapter. And my advisor had previously participated in this program, and that's kind of how I found out about it. So when I applied, our chapter is actually only about 2.5 years old. I'm only the second president. So I had originally applied for the lower tier of funding, and my original goal was just to kind of expand our chapter. So I wanted to tell you guys a little bit about what we do as a chapter. We have a mentoring network where we have grad students with faculty, juniors and seniors with grad students, and then freshmen and sophomores. Oh, that's supposed to say with juniors and seniors. And then we also have brown bag talks. So what these are they're like an opportunity for graduate students and undergrads to talk about either like a project in their class or the research that they're doing at kind of more like a peer-oriented environment where it's low pressure. So what we do is it's actually faculty like invite only. So it's supposed to really just be the students getting together, and then sometimes faculty are invited to give feedback, but it's supposed to provide an environment for students to feel like safe to practice their talks. We also bring guest speakers in from the region, and this is like a colloquium that they'll do. And then with that, a lot of the times we'll try to get like students who are interested in their research or just want to like hang out with the professor. A lot of the times we'll get them to go to dinner with them so that they can have more of like a one-on-one or group conversation and kind of learn about how they got into the field and their background. We've also done career panels. So the fall semester, we had all of our alumni. I reached out to a bunch of the alumni from our master's program, and we got 2 people who had gone through and gotten their doctorate and 2 people that had gone into industry. So to kind of show some of the new master's students what the possibilities were after they got their master's. And then we ended up getting more money than I had thought we were going to get. So we were actually able to do a conference, and that's what a lot of the money that we got through the WAM program went towards. So the day of the conference, this was like our schedule. So we started with the keynote speaker, which was Dr. Lillian Pierce. She's actually on the committee here and helps plan the program here. And she's a really amazing speaker. She had won the AWM Sadowski Prize, I think the year before, which is kind of why we wanted to bring her in, because this was an AWM conference. And when I introduced her, this was like the beginning of the conference, I encouraged everyone that day to talk to someone that they didn't know, because my goal for the conference was really to have a networking opportunity for the people in the region to come together and meet other people in math outside of their institution. And it was really great because Dr. Pierce talked a lot about her experiences and the mentors that she gained going through the process, and kind of just like her life story was part of the keynote. So that was really awesome, and I think it really set the tone for the rest of the day and encouraged students to kind of get out of their comfort zone and talk to new people. So after that, we had student presentations. We had undergrads and grads, and we had 3 parallel sessions, each with 4 student talks, and we had 5 different schools represented in those talks. And then at lunch, we had like a networking lunch. So we had put conversation starters, like different fun questions on the tables for people to talk about. And I encouraged people to sit with new people. And after that, we had a career panel and then a graduate school panel. So here's some of the takeaways. I want to start with the bad so I could end with the good. I don't think that I collected enough information. So one of the things I forgot to do was I asked people if they were students or faculty, but I didn't ask like if they were a grad student or an undergraduate student. So I should have definitely asked them that during the registration. I could have also collected more feedback. We didn't send a follow-up survey. I kind of collected information from people the day of, or a lot of people came up and told me how great it was. So I think overall it was good. And then we also needed more information on the website. We didn't include any of the like location information. We had a parking map, but we didn't include like room numbers or anything like that, which I just forgot about. I've never organized a conference before, so just some of the things that you learn as you go. I would have liked to have more diverse student talks. So the whole conference was organized by applied mathematicians. So we mostly had applied talks, but I would have really liked to get more diversity. And I think the way to do that would have been to reach out to more like pure math faculty to try and encourage students to sign up. And then also we kind of had a lack of faculty participation, both from my institution and from other institutions. And I don't know really how to fix that on a student level, but it's something that we should definitely work on. So some of the good, we had a huge, I thought it was a really good attendance, considering that this is the first time we tried doing this. We had 68 total attendees, 48 of those were students, and then we had 8 different schools represented from the region. We also had coffee provided, so we reached out to the Women's Center and we got additional funding to provide like breakfast, which I think was a really awesome opportunity, like right in the morning for people to start talking to each other. We had really good engagement from the students. They were asking great questions during the panel, so I think that people were really engaged throughout the day. And I think that the networking lunch went well. And we also had t-shirts and programs made. Here's our program here. I think that the program turned out really well, so I was proud of that. Overall, I think we had a really great day. And we actually were hoping to continue the tradition at other schools within the region. So the conference was actually inspired by another AWM conference that I had attended the year before at UNC Chapel Hill, and it was just such a great experience that I really wanted to bring it to Wake Forest. And we actually have a woman here this week from UNC Greensboro that I'm hoping will apply, and we can get the conference at UNC Greensboro and it can continue to rotate around within the state. So just like encouragement and future directions. I really want to get more undergrads involved in AWM and in my chapter in particular, but just in general, I think it's a great idea to get involved in a local AWM chapter if you have one at your university, and if not, you should start one. I think that the organization in general is really awesome, and I think it's really important to meet people outside of your institution too. So I've had wonderful opportunities through this conference, through going to JMM and meeting other AWM women. So I just think it's a really awesome community of people, and I'm really glad I had this opportunity. So. Do you have any questions? I didn't really go over like how we planned it, so I can talk about that for a minute too if you guys want me to.
So I guess that the same kind of question. You seem to like have more people from other universities. Like
Yeah. So one of the things we did was like in January, I want to say, or maybe even December, we found different faculty from universities and we sent like a personalized invitation. One of the girls on my like planning committee actually made this really beautiful thing that we could send out through an email. So we targeted people specifically, and then like my mentor / advisor, Dr. Gimmer, he had connections with people in the region, and he like specifically reached out to people, which I think carries a lot more weight than a student reaching out to someone. So if you could like team up with the faculty at your institution, I think that that's really helpful too. Any other questions? Yeah. Okay, yeah, so I got a committee together from my chapter, and we started planning, I think, in like November, and we got Dr. Pierce during that time. Actually, Maddie, who's pictured here, she found out about Dr. Pierce. I had no idea that Dr. Pierce is actually at Duke University, so we found someone local, which was really helpful because we didn't have to pay as much money to get her there. And so we found her, we got her locked in November, and then I had Des, who's on the ground there. She was in charge of the career panel, so I gave her some suggestions, but she was kind of responsible for reaching out to everyone, and she started planning that in January. We were inviting people. And then Lydia was in charge of our graduate panel, so we got some of the alumni from Wake Forest who are currently pursuing their doctorates nearby. We had them come, and then we also had some of the master's students from our program speak, so we were reaching out to them. And then we also had 2 faculty on our graduate panel as well from UNC Greensboro come.
So it was good to kind of break these tasks up. So I was kind of in charge of the overall picture, but then it was helpful to give people different responsibilities. So yeah. Any other questions? Thank you.